Season 4, The Quiet Work of Money, Portfolio Design, Turning Understanding into Architecture. For the past 3 seasons, we've been building understanding. We began by stepping back from money itself and asking a quieter question. How does money actually fit into a life? Then we built structure, savings, usable cash, stability, the foundations that make financial decisions calmer and clearer. And only after that did we step into investing, growth, income, risk, and the long arc of capital. But now we arrive at something different. Because knowing how investing works is not the same thing as knowing how to build a portfolio. Investing is knowledge. A portfolio is architecture. And architecture is what determines whether the system actually holds together over time. This season is about that architecture, not which investments are exciting, not which strategies are fashionable, but how capital is arranged so that it quietly does its work year after year, supporting a life without constantly demanding attention. A well-designed portfolio is not a bet. It's a machine. And in this season, we're going to design one. Season 4, Episode 1, A Portfolio is a Machine, Not a Bet. When most people think about investing, they think about picking things. Picking stocks, picking funds, picking the next opportunity. The conversation usually sounds like this. Is this company undervalued? Is this sector about to grow? Is this the right time to buy? In other words, investing is often framed as a series of decisions about individual bets. But a portfolio is not a collection of bets. A portfolio is something else entirely. It is a system. And like any system, it is designed to perform a function. A simple way to understand this is to think of a portfolio as a machine. Not a metaphorical machine in a vague sense. A real one. A machine converts inputs into outputs. An engine converts fuel into motion. A power plant converts energy into electricity. A water system converts pressure into flow. And a well-designed portfolio converts capital into something very specific: stability, income, growth, optionality. Different parts of the machine perform different jobs, and when the machine is designed well, the system works quietly in the background. This is where many investors run into trouble. They focus on the parts, they analyze companies, they debate valuations, they follow market narratives. But they never step back and ask a more important question. What is the machine actually supposed to do? Because without that clarity, the parts never quite fit together. You may own excellent investments, but if those investments are not arranged in a coherent structure, the portfolio can still feel chaotic. Consider two investors who own the exact same assets, the same companies, the same funds, the same total capital. One investor experiences constant anxiety. The other experiences relative calm. Why? Often the difference is not the investments. It is the architecture. In the first portfolio, the assets exist as a collection of opportunities. In the second, they exist as parts of a system. A machine works because each component has a job. One component generates power, another stabilizes pressure, another regulates flow. Each part supports the whole. A portfolio works the same way. Some capital exists to grow. Some capital exists to generate income. Some capital exists to provide stability when markets become unpredictable. And some capital exists simply to create flexibility, so that opportunities can be taken without destabilizing the system. When these roles are clear, the portfolio becomes easier to live with. When they are unclear, every decision feels improvised. This distinction also changes how we think about risk. When portfolios are treated as collections of bets, risk is often defined as volatility. Prices move up and down, markets fluctuate, and investors try to predict what might happen next. But machines fail for different reasons. They fail because too much load is placed on one component. They fail because the structure is overly complicated. They fail because one critical part breaks and nothing else can compensate. In other words, machines fail from fragility. And portfolios often do too. A well-designed portfolio does not depend on any single investment being perfect. It does not assume that every decision will work out exactly as expected. Instead, it assumes the opposite. Some investments will disappoint. Some will surprise. Some will take longer than expected. Some will perform far better than anyone predicted. The architecture of the portfolio is what allows the system to continue functioning despite those uncertainties. Think about a bridge. No engineer designs a bridge assuming every beam will experience exactly the expected amount of stress. The bridge is designed with redundancy, with margins, with an understanding that conditions will change over time. Portfolios should be designed the same way, not around perfect predictions, but around durable structure. Once you begin to see portfolios this way, something important shifts. You stop asking only, "What should I buy?" And you start asking a more important question: what job does this capital need to perform? That question is the beginning of portfolio design, because the answer determines how the rest of the system must be structured. In the episodes ahead, we'll explore how this machine actually works. We'll begin by looking at the different jobs capital can perform, because once you understand those jobs, portfolio design becomes much clearer. Not because investing becomes simpler, but because the system finally has structure. A portfolio is not a bet. It is not a prediction about markets. It is not a collection of interesting investments. A portfolio is a machine, and when it is designed well, it performs its work quietly, year after year, supporting a life without constantly demanding attention. Next time, we'll begin with the first principle of portfolio architecture. Capital has jobs,